Hello Sweaty, do you come here often? Well, about me, I kinda do. After all, this is my channel. And if you are here today, it's to watch my review of the new Siena Root album, The Secret of Our Time. This is my first album review in a few months, mostly because I don't want to focus too much my channel on that, even though recently 3 albums that I really wanted to review came out, so I might do a few more in the next weeks. But the others are issue for another video. Here we have Siena Root. Applauses please, various applauses. So, for those who aren't familiar with this band, Siena Root is a band that I've been following for a while, and they've always mesmerized me with their incredible discography. Their first studio albums are much more towards the progressive rock side, so expect some very long songs with crazy tempo changes, and since most prog rock band tend to have at least one peculiar instrument in their set, with Siena Root, it wasn't different, and the instrument that they chose was the sitar, that made the band have a sound that reminds us of South Asia, even though the band is named after an Italian city. However, with the release of their 5th studio album, Pioneers, their sound drastically changed, and everyone that hears their new style, including me, thinks the same thing. They now sound like Deep Purple. For real, it's impossible to hear songs like 7 Years and The Way You Turn and not think that it's a Deep Purple song just with another vocalist. But despite that, Siena Root haven't become to Deep Purple what Greta Van Fleet is to Led Zeppelin, since they still have a bit of stoner rock incorporated into their music, and sometimes like in the song Empty Streets, the Deep Purple influence is completely gone. I mean, not completely, but it has diminished a lot. While the band isn't as original as it once was, they definitely haven't lost their mojo, since their best album in my opinion was released in that phase. I'm talking about their 6th studio album, A Dream of Lasting Peace, released in 2017. A heavily Deep Purple-inspired album, but it's undoubtedly an incredible album full of amazing songs from beginning to end. It's easily one of the best rock albums of the 2010s to me, and, considering how good this album was, I was a bit concerned if the album's follow-up would live up to what this album was. And well, a few weeks ago, their 7th studio album finally came out, and yep, I was right, it's nowhere near as great as A Dream of Lasting Peace. It's an album that overall isn't bad, but it leaves a lot to be desired. The album opens with an incredibly boring track that I will be talking about later on in this video. After that we have a bland second track, and only in the 3rd track, the album finally gets some staying power, that lives on a little through the album, even though there is still a few low points after that. A huge problem in the album's sound to me is the over-reliance on the keyboard, and don't get me wrong, I love keyboard, but I feel like they're giving a bit too much emphasis on it and forgetting a little about the other instruments. In most points of the album the keyboard is incredible, but in others, like in the song In Your Head, it sounds a bit forced. But at least it doesn't occur often. Now, it is time to talk about the songs that I like the most, the positive highlights. Track 3, Organic Intelligence. As I said before, the 3rd track is when this album really kicks off. It's a very fun song, with very smooth and serene sounding verses with vocals that remind me a little of Chrissie Hynde from The Pretenders. Later those verses explode into an incredibly vivid chorus. This song has great guitars, great keyboard, great vocals and overall greatness. To me, the best track on the album. Track 4, Mender. The follow-up to Organic Intelligence, Mender is marked by a good hip-shaking riff. The verses are a bit jazzy and even smoother than the previous song, sometimes reminiscent of the song Empty Streets, featured in the band's previous album. Another thing that stand out to me is the incredible guitar solo, that fits very well with the song's atmosphere. Track 6, When a Fool Wears a Crown. The album's lead single is notable to me for being a bit different than the rest of the album when it comes to the mood of the song. This song is a bit more bouncy, fun, and overall groovier than the rest of the album, and I think I can't forget to mention the track's massively catchy keyboard performance. Track 9, Imaginary Borders. The album's closing track, it's marked by a really cool start that builds up slowly. After that we hear the sound of a very concise guitar solo that goes perfectly with the extravagant keyboard, and notably this track is very Jefferson Airplane-ish. The whole album has a bit of that, but here specifically is very clear. The song is also marked by a keyboard performance in the middle of the song that's a bit grim and another nice guitar solo in the end of the song. I sadly can only give one song the title of best track of the album, but this song definitely is the runner-up. And now, the songs that are bit more on the dumping ground side of things, the negative highlights. Track 1, Final Stand. The whole song from beginning to end is a mess. It sounds incredibly lingered, like the members of the band are just trying to make the song as long as possible, with repetitive boring instrumentals that make the song gives us the thought of, when will this song end, despite the song having just a bit more than 6 minutes in length. At least the vocal performance is good. Track 8, Have No Fear. In the beginning, this track finally gives us something that was missing not only in this album but in all of the band's latest albums, some sitar, like in the old days of the band. Sadly it doesn't last long and quickly we are introduced to a weak song that at points feel kinda pointless, and in the middle of the song there's this tension that you think it's going to lead to an awesome breakdown, but the release is more disappointing than Byleth on Smash Brothers. Overall, this album has a lot of good songs but it's carried down by some incredibly bland performances that are just disappointing. Considering Siena Root's great discography, I'm not sure if this is their worst album, but it's definitely not their best. Overall, I feel like this album takes a 6.8. Not bad, but could have been much better. Hey, thanks for watching the video until here. What are your thoughts in this album? Please share it in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. My name is Marshall and see you next time.